I think back nowadays to 2003, I made a series, it's called Separation, and in this series I wanted to talk about a relationship between a mother and a son, and I put the mother in the rubber suit and the son as well, but of course you cannot put a young boy in a rubber suit. So I had to work with dolls, and while we were photographing, I had to push, of course, the doll in a certain position. And the positions I had to push him in was so interesting because when you want to communicate sadness, you know, or you want to communicate happiness, or whatever, you had to do this all with the doll. So during the process of making the series, I started to realize how much more is happening in photography sometimes, where you use little details, and when you move, let's say, a flower 1 centimeter to the right or to the left, it can counter into a huge emotion. So, and I also had at that point in my life that I was already, starting to feel I'm finished a little bit with a very strong photography to convince the whole world that I'm good, or to convince the world to look at my work. I was already getting in the emotion like, well, if you don't like it, then don't look. So from that period on, I started to photograph more new, subtle emotions. And the definite change came for me in 2004 when I created a series called Rain, in which I wanted to talk about the freedom of speech and freedom of being who you are in the Western world, which we had to thank the United States, because we had there was this terrible thing of 9/11 just a few years before that, and then when I was making it, I wanted to make something very happy, but it didn't work, So it changed rapidly in Rain, and in Rain it's really about where do you look, how is the hand, where is the leg, how is the shoulder, and what this little things to communicate about the moment between action and reaction. And for me, this is a starting point that I thought, now I'm going from this time on, I want to go deeper. I want to go inside. I don't want to go outside. Well, then going through the years, what I really like is that when you come in as a visitor in the exhibition, I'm giving you the opportunity to create your own movie or to create your own story. And it's not me telling what you have to think or what you have to do. Because for myself that is so fantastic when I go, for instance, to the cinema, or when I listen to beautiful classical music or beautiful music, that I'm starting to paint my own world. And you see with photography that many times, also in my own work, it is so direct, it is so stories that are told already, that it creates a distance. And what I like to do is to pull you in the story, but without giving you too many clues. And the funny thing is, I created one time a photograph of a woman sitting in a kitchen, it was in the series, holding some sweets, and I missed something. And then I put a white telephone in the set, and then you had the story. Did she just pick up the phone? Is she waiting for a call? Or does she have to make a phone call? So here was my one little object. You can create a whole palette of stories. That are 3 pictures, 4 pictures of, no, 5 like this. Berlin. So I shot in Berlin because I wanted to talk about that, that we are living, in my opinion, again in interbellum, going from one period to another period. So I looked at the art and the photography in that period in Berlin, which was really interesting, capital then. And I've also the idea that Berlin is getting the capital of the continent of Europe, in my opinion. So, well, I think, I'm more, not that you follow one person, but more that you follow a mentality. I have to say that the art of painting is for me sometimes more inspirational than photographers, although you have of course the big masters, but if I really have to say what did me put in the direction I like, but it is more directors like Visconti, Fellini, Pasolini, the Italian, but also Douglas Sirk, you know, the very precise directors. So that is my more inspiration. Then of course there's also the light of painters like Vermeer and Rembrandt, you know, from my country, that are inspiring me. And even in a series called Grief I made in 2007, I was inspired by the lines in the paintings of Mondrian, you know. So I look a lot at painters. No, but in my, you know, because it's stage photography, you have to plan a lot. But let's say a plant is 75%. Then you have 25%, like in the set design, you can put things in, take things out, the wardrobe. But the most of this 25% is reserved for the models, for the people who have to act the roles. Because if I work with a boy of 8 years, you know, I cannot manipulate him completely. But when he comes in, he takes over. And then he has to surprise me. It is with every model. If it's a woman of 85 or is it a fashion model, you know, she has to surprise me too. And this you build up in a, let's say, when you're on the set together, even when there are 20 people around, then I think to say that I have to fall in love with my model for a very short period, and he or she with me, you know, because there's something in this, and it goes through the lens, you know, and it's very funny. The lens, the camera, is the intermediary, you know, it's the enzyme to create this magical relationship. That's very important.